Yes, in case you're just tuning in, you are right in time for Entertainment Thursday right here on Good Morning Kenya. And right about now, we are about to have a very interesting conversation. If you have friends who are musicians, please holler at them. Let them know that they should be tuning in right now, because the topic of discussion today is on branding. You know, and that is very important for every creative out here, and that is branding basics, specifically for musicians. And joining me for this particular conversation are just the right people. On my immediate left, we have Mike Mutenyo. Mike Mutenyo is a brand manager. He is a brand guru. He is everything branding. And right next to him is Olivia Ambani. Olivia Ambani is an award-winning singer and songwriter. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you on set.
Pleasure.
Welcome back. Welcome, Ambani.
Thank you.
All right, if we may just begin with a basic title, branding. What exactly is branding? Ladies first.
Ladies first.
So when it comes to branding, branding is pretty much the art of persuading people to perceive you in a certain way. In the simplest terms, that's all it is. So when you want to create an impression about who you are or what you do, be it a business, be a musician, it's just that, creating an impression in people's mind about what you do. Yes.
Is that the same way you would describe it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And just to add on it, it's so branding. Now we're speaking in the context of musicians today.
Yeah.
So it's more than logos, photos, because that is what is usually associated with branding. So that's what I would like to add on what Olivia has said. It's perception through a series of activities, through a series of tools that you will use for you to shape how you want to be viewed by your intended audience. Yes.
So as a musician, assuming I'm not, I wish I was though. As a musician, what key questions should I first ask myself when I'm looking to get into branding myself, you know, to branding who I am as a musician rather? What key questions should I ask myself?
I think maybe I'll jump on that one. I think one of the first things is, what are your values as a person first? Because I think especially when we're thinking of creative arts or personal brands, we think we have to be other people. But I think when your brand really transcends is when your values, your personal values, align with the brand that you're, like whatever entertainment brand you have. So the first thing is, what are your values? What do you believe in? What is important to you? Because when you know what that is, then that can be part of how you brand yourself. So for instance, for me, it's really important, like, to share knowledge, to be inspirational, to encourage people. Those are my key values. And for creativity to be accessible to all. And so because those are my values, that's kind of in how I pitch myself, the fact that I'm here because I love sharing knowledge. So one is, what are your key values? And then the next thing I'd say is actually to explore, because especially if you're a new artist, you may not know in the beginning exactly what type of brand you want. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck in the, I want the perfect answer, I want the perfect formula, and then they don't do anything. So one I'd say is explore. You know, find out your values, but then start exploring and seeing what makes sense for you. Because a lot of artists lose out because they're hiding. They're waiting for that perfect song or that perfect brand or that perfect manager. And then that hinders you. So many opportunities pass you by. So the first two I'd say is find out what your values are, and then, you know, explore the different avenues in terms of how you want to brand yourself. And then maybe the other thing to then add is, like, it's not all about images, but images are important. For instance, there's so many times when artists are booked for interviews and they don't have any professional photos. They have maybe a selfie. Selfies are great.
Nothing against them.
They're great, but, you know, get some professional photos. And in this day and age, it's not impossible. Right? There's so many studios out there that will do like 10 photos for 3,500 shillings, or even one photo for 350 bob. So I think good images really help. And in terms of the style you want to have, again, explore what colors do you like, how do you want to dress, you know, and it can evolve. But those are the first three I would actually say. Yeah.
Even as we talk about branding, maybe why is it important for an artist to package themselves as a brand?
Okay. So for from the basics, because the talk today is basics, branding basics. For when you're an artist, you have something that is within you that you want to communicate with the world. And number two, you want to create a tribe. You want to create an audience for yourself. So through a series of an example like what Olivia is saying, you will need to know your audience. And it is through the experimentation that she's talking about. And also knowing your values. Your values will help you to know what do I stand for? What do I sing? What do I sing? Who do I sing for? It's very important, because that is what will help you have a career. By that, what I mean is you'll know your audience. You'll know by age, where are they in life, basically. What is my sound? Because through all those things, you'll be able to know what your sound is. And your sound will determine a series, how you do your photo shoots, how you do your video shoots.
You need to go to the nitty-gritties,
yes,
to the point where you want to even know the age of the audience that you want to, consume your music.
Yes, but now when you're a new artist, it might be a challenge, because it sounds like jargon, telling an artist you need to know your age,
exactly.
the age of the person.
How am I supposed to know?
No. Through your expression of your music, over time you'll know who listens to you. You'll know who your target audience is, without even necessarily going to sit down in a board meeting to discuss anything. But it's very important from the start, you to be consciously knowing who am I singing for by age. Now, under photos, we've talked about photos. Those are brand identity tools, which are very important. And we usually encourage artists to know what are the most important things that I can't compromise on. And images come very important. Number two is image. How do you want to be perceived? As in, how do you want to be dressing? In that, when I hear your name, what comes in my mind? You as an artist. Do I want to be known as I dress in African regalia? Do I dress in formal dressing? Basically, you need to find your identity through your dress code. It's part of the branding process. We come to digital social media, very important. We are in 2024, so you can't say that you don't need social media completely. You might not need Facebook, but you might need Instagram, or you might need Twitter. So if you are not able to be on all those platforms, you'll need to identify platforms that you will be able to reach your intended audience. For example, you will know young people who are in urban centers are on Instagram a lot. If it's mainstream, as in people, mass market, it's on Facebook. So social media is also a very key component, and it's a lengthy conversation. Another thing, as part of your branding process, you'll need to be very conscious of educating yourself consistently in knowing how the industry works, because you can't be working in an industry that you don't understand. You'll need just to educate yourself to know, what does a manager do? What does a publicist do? How do people promote their music in 2024? They don't sound like branding basics, but they are.
And to you, Olivia, Mike has talked about identifying who you're singing to, identifying who your audience is. And one may argue, will I not be boxing myself? Say you've identified that you've thought of the age group that you're reaching is probably from around the ages of 24 to 32, thereabout. Are you not boxing yourself? One may question, because I hear artists sometimes saying they want to be diverse. They want their music to be listened to in the house, whereby your shosho will listen to it, your dad will listen to it, I will listen to it, and if there's a kid there, they'll be able to listen to it and also get to consume it and like it. So is that challenging?
It can be, but the way I look at it is you will have your primary audience. So like in most people, they have like a demographic or like a range of people who mainly listen to their music. So maybe you have like 25 to 35 or 40 who mainly listen to your music, but then you still have like your grandmother, your gugu, who will also listen to your music. Why it's useful to know, it doesn't mean you only need one. So you can have segments. You can have like, I have the 25 to 35, and then I have the 40 to 50, like you can actually segment them. So I don't think it boxes you in, it just gives you information that you can then use. So for instance, if you realize that mainly you have people who are 25 to 35, but you want other people from different age ranges cultures or backgrounds, then you can now tweak maybe your brand to be able to approach them, or maybe the way you're distributing your music, the shows you're doing, where you are going, so that you can target those people. So with all this, it's just data. And then you choose to do what you want with that data. And then the thing is, when you're trying to appease everybody, it gets difficult. Right? And the funny thing is, sometimes when you niche down, that's when more people actually like you, because one, you'll find the people who connect to what you do, and then you'll find other people who may not have, will actually give you a chance because they like your consistency, they see your show of what you're doing. And so it doesn't box you, it just gives you information and data of where you can focus. And kind of to respond to the question you asked before, when you're branding, it gives you more opportunities, as Michael said. And you know, when you have more opportunities, you can make more money, and that helps when you know what your audience is. So for instance, if you want brand partnerships, they're gonna ask you, like, who's your target audience? Or they may kind of assess based on how you present yourself, who they think your target audience is. Because especially with things like that, they wanna tap into who your audience is. And if you don't know who they are, you can't define them, it's really difficult, especially if you want like paid partnerships.
So is consistency part of branding?
Yes, it is.
Staying consistent is also part of branding.
It is part of branding.
Yeah.
Because when you're launching your brand, like your new, you'll need to have a plan, because the plan is what will keep you in check in terms of introducing yourself and consistently. Because if something is new, it needs to be strategically be placed before our eyes for us to be able to connect with you. So it is truly part of it, and consistency doesn't necessarily mean you're releasing music weekly. It will fall into your plan, but it will need to be.
What does it look like?
It depends with.
Yeah, because I feel like consistency is me ensuring I'm always checking out music.
Consistency is being consistent in marketing, pushing your brand, not releasing music. There are a lot of things under that. We have a media to us, like coming for an interview like this. It's part of your brand. So it's just that when you tell an artist, be consistent, they think be consistent in releasing music. That's not what we mean. Be consistent in releasing music, in pushing yourself, so that we don't, you're just in our eyes, so that we keep bonding with you. You're building a momentum for us to be able to become your fans if we are the target audience. So the consistency in terms of music, it all depends with the plan that you come about, because we have artists who release a song a month. We have those who release a song after 3 months. It will all depend in your yearly plan. What have you planned? How many songs do I want to release? How many videos? What other activities do I have that are linked to my music career but are not related to releasing music? All of them, they are very important.
I don't know if we've answered this in some of the questions that I've asked, but what are the visual elements, you know, that an artist should have represent their brand? We've talked about, it's not about the logos and all, you know, for musicians. It's part of it, but it's not entirely it. So there's the logos, there's the image in your pictures and all, and what else visually? Yeah.
Allow me to answer that. So we have the logo, we have the artwork. You see, like your banner, YouTube banner, social media banners, all that, but you can't design them if you don't have the logo. We have documents that are very key that people overlook. Something like an EPK. An EPK is your bio, including extra information about where you've ever gigged, any highlights of your career, any interviews that you've ever done in print or digital media. So we have the EPK stroke bio, very important document. If you're a live performer, you'll need to have a rider, in the sense that if you're being booked for a live gig, they'll need to know your formation on stage. How many guitarists do you usually have? What else do you need on the stage? So those are extra documents that are part of the branding process, which help you, and you need them from the onset. They're not things that you will require once you are an A-list artist. Social media is part of it, which we've already discussed. It's part of the visual identity tools. Later, once now you've transitioned in that your brand is somewhere, it's when now we have the visual elements whereby you have merchandise, which has specific messaging that you want to be on, which can become a revenue streams on its own. Banner, all those, they come later, but from the basics, yes.
What strategies, Ambani, should an artist set in place in order for them to not lose touch with their fan base, you know, as a brand?
So it takes us back to the question you asked about consistency. Because consistency, as Mike said, it's not just about releasing, but it's also how you show up. So, and not even like media. So for instance, if you're online and you say, you know, I'm a bubbly, friendly person, and then like when people come to your shows, you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody, like, move away from me. So your messaging needs to be consistent. What you say online, what you do needs to be consistent when people meet you. It needs to be the same energy. Yes, we can have our bad days, that's okay, but it needs to be consistent. Like even when you're taking brand deals, do they align with the values you publicly say? You know, like if you say, okay, I believe in this, and then you go take a brand deal that says the complete opposite. So that's also part of consistency. And so in terms of like the strategies to be able to consistently connect with your audience, one, consistency, and then two, being authentic. Because these days people can really, they can tell when you're not being authentic. Like you'll be like, you know? And there's receipts, right? Because you've been online, there's social media, like, but you said this at this time. And then also being relatable really helps. Yes, there's some artists who want to be, I'm a star, you don't see much about you, don't know much about me. Then if that's your brand, that's fine. Then you create that persona. But I find that especially when you're an upcoming artist, it helps when you're relatable. So sharing like your process of making your music, letting people into behind the scenes. That helps your audience feel like, oh, we're getting to know this person. That's why I think reality TV does so well, and vlogging. It's because we feel like we're getting to know someone. It's like you're literally in the room and watching them live their lives. So one, it's like sharing more than just your music. Your music is amazing, but then take us behind the scenes. Like, how did you make it? Who did you work with? Maybe what challenges did you face? Because normally you want to be perceived as perfect. Nobody's perfect. And I found for my brand, I try and make it as relatable as possible, because that's what people really like, and I like that too, because when I see people and they're going through challenges and then they overcome them, I'm like, okay, it's possible for me too. And that's how people connect to me. So there's that, and then also just having a plan for your social media. Not everyone likes it, but it's important, as Mike said. We need to have it. So decide how often you're going to post. And I say it's not about frequency, but the value.
The value. Yeah,
it's so important. Think about the season of life you're in. Maybe the season of life you can post once a week. Maybe there's another season, you're in the middle of lots of different things, you can post only every 2 weeks. But whatever that frequency is, you need to try and stick to it at least for 3 months. And if you can't do it yourself, hire someone.
Nice.
Like, but being present on social media is important. But I say don't pick a frequency you can't keep up. So don't go posting every day if that's not what you want to do, unless you're in the season of life where you can manage that. And then just thinking of using the different tools out there. So asking your audience questions. You know, they ask them, okay, what should I release next? Or what did you think about my last song? Don't just always tell them, watch, listen. Get feedback from them, listen to them, respond to their comments. Like this is something that is so powerful. If people comment on your stuff, like and respond, even just a simple thank you, they feel seen and heard, because as humans, we all want to be seen and heard. And especially as an artist, you have so much power, so much power and influence. And when you meet people and, you know, you're positive or just a nice person to be around, that will really, really draw a lot of people to you.
Would you love to add onto that?
There are two things I would like to highlight that Olivia has said, very important. One is about the consistency in terms of your imaging, because you must minimize a disconnect completely, because as we know you online, we need to know you offline. That is in the music space. It's very important. Another thing that we didn't touch on when we were starting, which is from the basics, about sound. The genre of music that you're doing. You know, it's very important that you can't sing for everyone. You can't rap for everyone. You must have a primary audience. And because it's a challenge that I've experienced with multi-talented artists. You find an artist who can do reggae, blues, R&B, everything. You can't place them anywhere. So it's something that we usually advise an artist. Yes, you are good in all this, but we will need to narrow down as to a specific sound that we can build on. And then if you can do the others, that's fine. When you're gigging, you can do a reggae version of that song wherever, but you need to be placed somewhere, which even it reflects when we're doing music distribution for these artists, because the categorization within which your song is being placed will help you be placed on playlists. Okay. It will help even people when they're booking you. So it's very important from the onset for you to find it. Even if you can't find it in the first song, second song, it must be just in your mind that I'm intentional about, over time, me finding my sound, because that is what will determine your audience and everything, where you'll be marketed. Even
so
some
stop
shows.
This thing of I'm versatile. I can do reggae. I can do R&B.
When we are trying to brand you commercially, we will have to find a path and stick to that path.
Okay. As we finish off with the conversation, I know that you mentioned, Ambani, you mentioned that one needs to be relatable, but it is questionable because sometimes they say that in this industry, the more unreachable you are, the more we don't see you, the better for you. How true is that statement? As we finish, just very quickly, how true is that? They say that, you know, when you atukuoni sana, you know, we don't see you as much, so your value goes up. How true is that?
So I think there's different ways I would approach that. One, there is some truth to it. So even if you're relatable online or in person, it doesn't mean you're going to say yes to everything. So being relatable doesn't mean you're saying yes to everything. That's the first thing. So yes, I strive to be relatable, but I don't say yes to everything. It has to align to my brands, it has to work for me and my schedule. So yes, you shouldn't say yes to everything. That's the first rule. Do not say yes to everything. The second thing is, you know, it's down to what do you want for yourself and your audience. How do they connect? There's a group of people who, they want that, you know, aura of I don't see you often, and when I do, it's like a rarity. If that's what you want for yourself, fantastic, go and do that. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum or in between, you're like, I want to have a mix of both, then do that, because just the way you like that, there's someone else who's going to connect to that.
All right. In the fewest of words, I wanted to chip into that. You know, I want to give an example of Nyashinsky. We all know Nyashinsky. We don't get to see him, but his value is up there. When you see him, you know that he's gotten, like, his bank is really, you know, smiling
so it depends with how you're creating your brand. Just that is the bottom line. So we have those types of musicians, Nyashinsky, Otile, very rare artists. You'll see them in specific things. But we have those ones who are visible in people's eyes, and that's how they build. So it all depends with your plan as an artist, your strategy as an artist. So you can't place everyone in the same box, that you're an artist, so you must be rare. It can't work for everyone. Yes. And also, just to add on it, as you are starting out, the goal should be over and over as you're proceeding with your career, you bring on board professionals, because they're the ones who will help you be able to align such things. They'll be able to help you get that balance of knowing when to come out, when not to. Because sometimes as an artist, you might be an introvert and you're extremely an introvert till it's working against you. Or you might be outgoing till it works against you. You find yourself in cases that if you would have stayed in the house,
you wouldn't have been involved in.
So all those things, it's a delicate balance, but all aligned with your brand.
Thank you so much for joining us for this particular conversation. This is something that you should pay for. You know? This is a masterclass right here, for real. So you're getting it for free right here just by tuning in. I mean, appreciate it. And make sure that as an artist, you look into all the things that they've talked about. This conversation will be put up on our YouTube channel, that is KBC Channel 1. So if you have a friend that you would want them to get to listen to this, you'll just go onto our channel and you'll find this particular conversation. We end this here, but don't you go too far. We have more entertainment coming your way. I can see, I don't know if I call them morans. They're right across. They'll be back in a bit. See you later.